Hey guys, how are you? All right, let's check everything's going to plan. And I'm in the right group. Okay, cool. So today, I've been thinking about this group and how I can best serve you guys and the things that I can be sharing with you that I know are going to help you. And I know for many of you that confidence that you have around coaching clients is something that, you know, a lot of people lack, especially in the early days. And so, you know, trying to think back to when I first started and what were the things that gave me confidence to you know, get out of my own way, get out of my own head and just be able to freely coach my clients and be in the moment, because the best coaching is done when you're really plugged in and tuned into your clients and you're listening to everything that's going on underneath the surface. The words that people say, as you know, are just such a small part of what's going on, and any good coach with experience will be able to tell pretty quickly if someone's saying words that they think you want to hear, or you know, there's some sort of expectation going on. So maybe they're undertaking something that, you know, they were told is a good idea or somebody thought was something that they should do, but they're not really buying into it. And that's equally important when you're working with clients and you know, offering up suggestions of things that they can do. You need to be able to plug in and know for sure that they're really buying into and taking ownership of the actions that you're asking them to take. Anyway, so one of the very first things that helped me to get really confident was to really trust in the coaching framework that I was using at the time. So if you don't have a coaching framework, so most coaching packages, you know, back in the day, they were 12-week coaching packages, and most people still offer those as the norm. And so there was a certain structure between, you know, for the first session, there was a certain structure for the second session. The 9 sessions in between that followed a certain pattern, and then there was a specific format for format for that last session as well. And each session had a breakdown as well. And at first I felt really limited and restricted by the things. So it's like, okay, when you go in the session, the first thing you do is this thing, then you do this thing, then you do this thing, then you work through this bit, then you wrap it up this way. And I felt like a bit of a robot and I didn't really enjoy it. But what I did was I found a way to make it mine, and I modified it quite a bit so that it felt really comfortable for me. And I created a framework that created a framework that felt really, really good. And it meant that I could go into the sessions and, you know, I'd have my checklist with me and I knew exactly what I needed to work through in that session. And, you know, I'd also checked my notes from the previous session to make sure that I was, you know, on track with where we were headed. I coach a little bit differently now. I don't take a lot of notes with my clients. Because essentially the onus is on the clients. You know, if we're having a deep coaching conversation and actions come up and insights come up, it's really the responsibility of the client to make sure that they're taking the notes, that they're doing everything that they need to do to feel prepared to lead the session and implement whatever comes up. But in the early days, you know, I think it's important to take notes and remind yourself of things so that you go into the sessions feeling super prepared. I think just for me now, I've been doing it for so long that I just, you know, I do remember things pretty easily. And yeah, I do give a lot more responsibility to my clients than I used to in the early days. I used to, you know, want to micromanage them. These days, I don't do that at all. Which is more powerful for the client and something, you know, that's another conversation we'll have another day. But if you, whatever your coaching program is, say you offer a 12-week coaching program, and for the sports coaches, you know, you might have an induction process with your students or your, you know, personal training clients or group coaching clients. But know the framework, know what it is. So what is the outcome that you desire for that first session? You know, the first, second, and third sessions are usually quite different, because in the first session, we're really trying to get a lay of the land, set some goals, set some expectations on both sides, things like that, really getting the lay of the land. And in the second session, for the type of coaching that I was doing back in the day, it used to be a lot about strategy, that session. And then the third session through to the ninth were really about just moving them forward and going through this process every session that followed the same format so that the client felt comfortable with it. I felt comfortable with it. We both felt like we ticked everything off the list and were able to move on. But having a framework that works for you and makes you, it means that you can rely on the framework to do its job, and you just need to be in the moment. So what do I mean by that? So for example, I'm trying to think back to the early days. So one of the first things that we did was clearing the space. This is a results coaching term, I think. And clearing the space was really, we got in there and the client had 3 to 4 to 5 minutes of just basically, this is what's going, they've walked in the door, they've rushed, or they've just jumped on the call, and they've done the kids' school drop off or whatever it is, and it's like, okay, let's just clear the space. And so the clearing the space is just, let's just get rid of all the distractions. So if you had a fight with your husband last night, or the kids were little shits that morning, you could have a bit of a talk about it, and we're like, okay, do you feel complete? Do you feel like you're ready to focus on the session? And then the client would say, yes, I feel ready to move it on into the session. And so then from there, we had set 3 goals in the original session, in that first session. And so then it was a matter of saying, okay, so let's just check in with goal 1. And then it was a matter of, have you done the actions from there? What come up? And what do we need to do to move you forward for the next week? And that it was so simple, I think back now and it was so, so simple. And then, so every goal was tackled from the perspective of, okay, so what happened in the last week? What did you get done? What came up for you? Was there any, inner work that we need to talk about? Were there any challenges? Did you freak out about something? Let's just move through that. And then finally it was setting actions for the following week on that goal. And then, so we would do that for each goal, and then we would just check in at the end. I'd list out the actions, or the client would list out the actions, and they would, okay, are you agreeing you're going to get this done between now and next week? The client would say yes. Anything you need to do to complete, anything you need to say no. Then we just acknowledge each other for the session, and then we moved on. And it was so great because one of the things that it enabled you to do was see where you were in relation to the goal at any given time. So if you set those goals on the first session, and then you did a strategy session, and the strategy session I think is the one that I ditched early on, because the strategy session, which was the second session, is saying, okay, so it's week 1, we've set these goals, and this is how we're going to do it. And we're going to step out, every milestone step along the way. But in my experience, things don't go to plan. Things never go the way that you map them out. It's nice to have an idea of that. But really, things happen. But it's good. It's a good place to start. You're both on the same page. The clients agree. Yep, okay, these are the milestones. These are the timelines. Yep, we're going to stick to that. And then through your ongoing coaching, you're then able to see, oh, okay, so this is where we're at. So if in week 1, it's week 6 now, and we said we're going to be here. Are we here? No. Okay, let's look at why not. Okay, so for the last 4 sessions, you didn't complete on those actions. So if you really want to reach that goal, we're going to have to hustle. Or is that not the goal anymore? And you're able to have that conversation because you clearly stated at the beginning that by week 6, you'd be here and have achieved these things. And then in that final session, you wrap it up. And often that would be when you would have a conversation with the client about, are we done, or would you like to take on another package? And then we can continue to work together. And it's such a simple process, and it works really well. And it helped me to get really confident in the sessions that I wasn't missing anything, and that the clients were going to achieve those goals because every week we're taking action and moving towards them. And if they weren't, then the clients were taking full responsibility themselves because they had agreed to do the activities or the actions, and then by the next session they hadn't taken that action. So, as I talk about it, I think I'm probably going to start to implement some more of that again with my coaching, more probably for the clients and for me, because I think it's really useful for people to be able to know exactly where they're at, and remember the commitment that they made in the beginning. And David Rock created results coaching systems many years ago, but he really did a good job when he put that package together. David Rock has now gone on to do neuro leadership, so he really works with the brain-based approach to coaching. I love his stuff, and some of his reports he wrote some reports. I'm trying to think of who he co-wrote some of them with, but a brain-based approach to coaching is one of them, and he speaks about attention density when you're trying to achieve goals. It's gold. I'll see if I can drag it up for you. I've got it in my files. I know I have, and I'll be able to Google it as well. So I'll put the link or at the document when I find it. But really, and that's probably where I took my coaching after reading his stuff. I didn't do the neuro leadership coaching because I didn't want to do leadership coaching. I've never wanted to do leadership coaching, but so much of the brain-based stuff is still really relevant and really, really great stuff. So he was way ahead of his time as well. Anyway, I'll pop that in there. But for today, just know that one of the things that's going to give you confidence is having a framework that you can rely on that lets you do your job, which is to be plugged in and be intuitive and be able to listen for the things that you need to listen for. And it also means that you're not going to be worried about things falling through the cracks because every week you're checking in on those goals. So have a think about that. I might even put together a framework that I would use today. If I was going to start out as a new coach, knowing what I know now, what's the framework that I would use? Message me or put in the comments below if you want me to create that, and if I get enough yeses, I'll create it. Other than that, have a great few days. I'll be back. I'm not sure when I'll be back. I'll pop in when I feel like I've got something useful to say. Please keep this group going. Start to invite people into the group. There's going to be a lot of useful information like this for coaches, and also, so I put on there the coaching program will start on the next Monday, but I've double booked myself, so it's going to be the Monday after that. I'll get in and I'll create a graphic and pin it up the top so that you can have all the information there. But that program is going to be basically how to create your online program, which is a group coaching program, and we're going to use Facebook groups as a way to deliver the program. So if you've got the idea for an online program and you have yet to launch it, an online group program, then this is going to be a great place to start. So so not next week, but the week after we'll be starting that, but there'll still be plenty of information in the meantime. Anyway, have a great day. Bye.